we're going to talk about this. Some of you guys may have noticed a t-shirt that I had on. And it's a Daniel Johnston t-shirt. The lo-fi singer-songwriter who is no longer with us. You guys probably saw me tweeting about this yesterday. I also posted a photo, and I wore this shirt to record some Jimmy Dore show clips. And then I'm wearing this shirt again this morning because I wanted to, represent, if you will. So let's go to this. Rest in peace, Daniel Johnston, lo-fi songwriting legend who is dead at 58. He reportedly suffered a heart attack on Tuesday, which is yesterday. Or excuse me, 2 days ago. 3-day week has thrown me off completely, folks. I've been doing this all week. I'm like, Monday, that was yesterday. No, Ron, today's Wednesday. Oh, yeah, Tuesday, that was it. No, that was 3-day week, guys. I did not stream on Monday because I was traveling back from the Midwest tour. So we had a 3-day stream week this week, and it's throwing me all off. I have misspoke on days all week, and I appreciate your understanding and your patience. Anyway, Daniel Johnston, the lo-fi avant singer, songwriter, and visual artist, has died at the age of 58. According to the Austin Chronicle, Johnston suffered a heart attack on September 10th. News was confirmed by the musician's former manager, Jeff Tartikoff. So let's go into the article for a little bit. Johnston was a prolific but troubled songwriter who battled mental health issues throughout his life. Much of his early musical output came in the form of homemade cassette recordings. After moving to Austin, Texas in the mid-1980s, Johnston attracted a small, dedicated, loyal following. In 1988, he traveled to New York City for his first professional recording session, resulting in the release of 1990. He also collaborated with half-Japanese singer Jad Fair on a collaborative album called It's Spooky. Interest in Johnston's music grew immensely after Kurt Cobain wore a t-shirt donning the image of his 1983 cassette album, Hi, How Are You? Cobain also cited Johnston's 1986 release, Yip Jump Music, as one of his favorite albums. The Cobain cosign led to a major label bidding war to sign Johnston, who at the time was receiving treatment at a mental hospital. He ended up signing with Atlantic Records after passing on a deal with Electric due to a belief that Metallica was satanic. They're not satanic, they're just corporate. But anyway, his time with Atlantic was short-lived, however, as his major label debut, 1994's Fun, was a commercial failure. He was dropped from the label soon after the album's release. He continued to release music independently. He released a double album featuring covers of his songs by artists including Tom Waits, Beck, Bright Eyes, Death Cab for Cutie, and others. So Johnston had a very incredible career. And this is the t-shirt that Kurt Cobain wore. And when Kurt Cobain wore it, it attracted more attention to Daniel Johnston. There's a documentary about his life called The Devil and Daniel Johnston. I highly recommend. It kind of goes through his struggles. He spent a lot of time in a mental hospital. He had many breakdowns. Fortunately for him, he had a very loving family behind him who, as far as I know, took care of him to the end. He was in the care of his parents because he wasn't really able to live by himself. I think at any point in his life. I mean, at times he lived by himself. He was a carnival worker in Austin, but he would have, kind of have an episode and then he'd wind up in a facility, or I think at times he would wind up in jail. He was very much a tortured soul, but he was a tortured soul who left behind some incredible songs. He was never the world's greatest musician. He was a songwriter through and through. So sometimes when you would listen to his songs, a lot of people might not get it. But then what they would do is they would hear his songs covered by Beck or the Eels, or they'd hear his songs covered by M. Ward, and they would realize how brilliant those songs were. He was an incredibly gifted songwriter. There's no doubt about it. Song of the day, of course, is Daniel Johnston. He's the artist of the day. He's got to be. And, I thought that the best way to end this week on the stream would be to celebrate his life. I am a Daniel Johnston fan. I was fortunate enough to see him twice. I saw him once in 2009. I saw him again last year. And my fiance went with me. And they were doing a thing because he couldn't do a very long set. So the way they were doing the event is they would show the movie, and then after the movie, he would come out and he would do a set. And Mike Watt from the Minutemen was on bass for him. He had a really cool band. I think I think Ben Harper might have been. I forget who all was there, but it was Los Angeles the second time I saw him. So he had a really cool all-star band. Mike Watt is the only one I remember off the top of my head, but it was a phenomenal show. And it was obvious that Daniel Johnston was suffering. I mean, he was on the brink of retiring from performing because he just physically couldn't do it anymore. He was not in very good health. Every time I saw him, admittedly, I wondered how much longer he'd be with us. So, I'm glad he made it as long as he did, and I'm not saying that to be disparaging as any way. It's just the guy was in very poor health in more recent years. And it was obvious. He would shake regularly. I mean, he just kind of sang. He couldn't really play an instrument because of how much he would shake. He was on a lot of medication. He had had a lot of drug abuse in his life. He had had a lot of hardships in his life. And, it caught up and it took its toll. I highly recommend Story of an Artist. If you're not familiar with Daniel Johnston, listen to Story of an Artist. Listen to Livin' Life. Listen to Walk the Cow. And if you're looking for some killer covers, M. Ward's cover of Story of an Artist is chilling. It is absolutely incredible. That is such a beautiful song. And of course, the original is great too. Hearing Daniel Johnston sing that song, you can tell he's really singing from his heart and that he means every word and every sentiment. And there's not... I mean, one thing about Daniel Johnston's music is not one syllable is wasted. There is not one syllable is throwaway, not one syllable is wasted, not one moment in those songs. And they are incredibly lo-fi, and they are bare bones, and sometimes less is more. And Daniel Johnston is a true testament to that. When it comes to just lo-fi indie singer-songwriter, he's one of the greats, and he set a bar. And he said it by making cassettes, homemade cassettes, and passing them out to people in Austin. He was a carnival worker. He worked at a carnival to pay his bills. And he would make overdubs on cassettes. He'd use a cassette deck to make overdubs. And again, if you watch a documentary about his life, which I highly recommend, Devil and Daniel Johnston, it goes through all of this. So we lost one of the greats in the indie rock world. We lost a legend. And years ago, we lost Kurt Cobain, who was very instrumental in introducing Daniel Johnston to a lot of people. It's one of the things, I'm a huge Nirvana fan. I know not everybody is, but one of the things, even if you're not the world's biggest Nirvana fan, you got to appreciate what they did for music. You got to appreciate what they did for so many artists who never would have been discovered at the level they were discovered otherwise. Whether it be Flipper or Dinosaur Jr. or Daniel Johnston. And all these artists were great in their own right, don't get me wrong. And they had followings in their own right, don't get me wrong. But Nirvana really made sure that they shined a light on all this stuff. And Daniel Johnston, rest in power. He left some incredible music. And if you're not familiar with Daniel Johnston, I highly recommend listening to him. That is the artist of the day and the song of the day. Start with Livin' Life. Start with True Love Will Find You in the End. And check out Songs of Pain. That would be where I'd start with Daniel. Check out Songs of Pain. And Daniel Johnston, rest in power. Some of the great covers again. M. Ward covering Story of the Artist is incredible. The Eels covering Livin' Life is incredible. Daniel Johnston. I'm glad he was with us as long as he was. But there is a huge loss in the indie rock world this week.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you wanna know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you wanna know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make